Today, do you want to rip out a spine from the comfort of your own home? You're in luck. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. Sorry this episode is late, but we had a snow day.
When you're a kid, that means you get to stay home from school, make a snowman, go sledding, and have snowball fights. But as an adult, it's just a real pain in the back and messes up our shooting schedule.
Yeah, we did have a snowball fight, though, and went sledding.
Yes, but we did it in a grown-up, responsible way, which is another great way to have a pain in the back.
2022 is already off to an unusual start because we bring you an EVE Online story that isn't a brief and surface-level summary of a recent calamitous skirmish that somehow destroyed enough in-game assets to have bought a real-life yacht. No, that probably still happened, but instead, it's the story of EVE Online's first-ever licensed crossover collaboration. And while sci-fi, it's not a brand known for its pitched space battles or even its spaceships at all, but rather more for its monsters that have frightened generations of British children, because yes, it's Doctor Who. The EVE community is seemingly divided on the game's first brand integration, but at least arguing about Doctor Who is a refreshing change of pace from waiting around to be murdered by the goon swarm, probably. Details on what players will actually do during this 2-week interstellar convergence event are limited. All we know at the time of recording is that it involves the Daleks, it's focused on an event called The Last Great Time War, and it's going to absolutely massacre someone's spreadsheets.
Remember grass? That kind of leafy green stuff that somehow grows out of the ground and gives you hives? It's hard to put in a video game, according to the devs at Koei Tecmo, who worked on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Koei Tecmo really wanted to capture the breath of the wildedness of Hyrule Field's grass, and so they asked Nintendo for help. Nintendo eagerly provided all sorts of documentation and support, but in the end, Koei Tecmo had to devote, quote, half the development hours of the game just to getting the grass right. And look, I really want to assume that they meant that the grass was a project deliverable that, let's say, started about halfway through development and was worked on in tiny spurts and starts until the game went Golden Master. But then the translated interview delivered the following gem. Director Ryota Matsushita said, "The whole company got dragged into the grass mess, didn't they?" Art director Yu Ohoshi replied, "How many hundreds of people was it?" With Matsushita replying, "It's no exaggeration to say we were in talks with development staff, CG departments, background, and technical support the whole time." Which is... I am super impressed that they put this level of thought and care into Age of Calamity, but I need to know, why in God's name do they then let you cut and burn down all of that precious grass and then keep track of the results? Are they just masochists? This had better not be a sex thing.
Couldn't find the right Christmas present for the Mortal Kombat fan in your life? I mean, I hope for everyone's sake they don't primarily identify themselves as a Mortal Kombat fan. But hey, thanks to Arcade 1UP, you're sorted for next year's gift with their 30th anniversary edition Mortal Kombat Arcade Cabinet. We don't know the exact price tag, but a similar NBA Jam unit from Arcade 1UP went for $700, so this is probably around the same cost. Curiously, it's also 75% scale to better fit in, a home and not a video arcade. The unit uses the same external graphic wrap as the original MK Arcade stand-up, but the inside comes jam-packed with 13 classic Midway arcade titles and claques, including Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate MK3, and some other arcade favorites like Joust, Rampage, and Gauntlet. The big feature is that it has online multiplayer at no extra cost. The catch is that, of course, you can only do online multiplayer with other Arcade 1UP Mortal Kombat units. So it's a pretty small potential player base made up entirely of Mortal Kombat superfans like you, because why else would you buy this if you're not also a Mortal Kombat superfan? A term which, by the way, needs an official name. MK Weebs? Netherrealmers? Sonya's Blades? No, that sounds like a gay bar. An amazing gay bar that would probably have a Mortal Kombat arcade machine. But anyway, we hope all you noob Cybots will be very happy with this new basement accessory.
New Pokemon Snap developers revealed that the sequel was always on their mind for years, and they just recently found the secret sauce. That's right, I'm doing another dev story. Big deal. Want to fight about it? According to a Famitsu interview with the Pokemon Company president Tsunekazu Ishihara and game director Haruki Suzaki, a sequel to the original Nintendo 64 game had been discussed during each new console generation, but they ultimately decided on the Switch because money, I'm assuming? It's never really made clear as to why a game about taking pictures couldn't instead come to the Wii U, which featured a pretty cool dual-screen picture-taking game called Fatal Frame: The Maiden of Black Water, or the 3DS, which had real cameras and also AR abilities, which are used heavily in the Fatal Frame spin-off game Spirit Camera, or even the Wii, where maybe you could just point and click your remote at the screen, like in Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Look, it's not like there's a lot of picture-taking games to reference here. I don't even think you aim the Wiimote to take photos. Anyway, Suzaki's Pokken tournament team worked on new Pokemon Snap, and in the early stages they considered changing the core concept of the game, though to what exactly they again don't make clear, but sometimes knowing where you came from can let you know where you're going. Quote, reflecting on the game proved to have a big influence on development. The more I heard about what happened during development of the last game, the more it reaffirmed our decision to stick with the original game's concept. Which makes it sound like they started blue skying about bold new directions for Pokemon Snap, then found somebody's dev diary and realized, holy crap, they already did all this brainstorming for us. Man, that saves us a lot of time. Since Snap is essentially a safari park ride with cameras, it's hard to see where else they could have gone. If it was me, I'd have had players on a haunted house dark ride with mystical cameras that capture the spirits of ghost Pokemon. Think about it. Fatal Phantom, the Mimikyu of Zoroark Haunter. Call me the Pokemon Company.
Do you remember last year when China's President Xi Jinping said he thought video games were bad for kids, and then Chinese state media started referring to them as spiritual opium? No? How about when China introduced new rules that legally restricted minors from playing more than 3 hours of video games a week? Well, turns out China had an even more effective way to crush the video game industry than concern-trolling comments and draconian laws. You see, if you simply stop approving new video games, then people can't buy any new video games. The National Press and Publication Administration, or the NPPA, is the Chinese government agency in charge of licensing video games for sale, and they haven't approved any new titles since July of last year. Not a mobile game, not a AAA title, nothing. The NPPA has provided no information on why they're doing this, or given any hints as to when or even if approvals are likely to resume. This means Chinese companies that make games, or market games, or advertise games, or make merch for games, are having a horrible time. Over 14,000 of them have shut down in the last 6 months. And even video game companies that have overseas markets, i.e. your Tencents and NetEases, are feeling the pinch and laying off employees. It seems like the Chinese government is so mad at video games, they're willing to crush the entire industry, consequences be damned. But why? Why are video games so dangerous? Given that we're talking about China, we'll never know, but we can speculate. Is it that it would be basically impossible to censor and control every in-game chat function in millions of games made by hundreds of thousands of developers? Or is it that Winnie the Pooh is now in the public domain and they're trying to get out ahead of that? And remember, kids, while the original Winnie the Pooh stories and illustrations are now in the public domain, the Disney representation of Winnie the Pooh with the red shirt is not.
How does that work?
Oh, it's very simple. If you want to use Pooh, just make sure he is completely nude, as author A.A. Milne and illustrator E.H. Shepard originally intended.
Well, by that criteria, also entering the public domain, a lot of anime I watch. Coming up, are your friends posting strange grids and mysterious fractions like 3/6, even though that could be simplified to 1/2? Don't worry, it's not a cult, it's Wordle.
And Wordle is...
Google it! I had to!
Couldn't find the right Christmas present for the Mortal Kombat in your life? I mean, I hope for everyone's sake they don't...
For the Mortal Kombat in your life. You didn't say fan.
Oh. Did I just say for the Mortal Kombat in your life?
You sure did.
Oh, well, all right then.
I mean, have you found the right Christmas present for the winner of said Mortal Kombat? I recommend a
Your
tarp.
might. Yeah. While I'm here, I want to talk briefly about TikTok. Because
Okay.
I mentioned before the CheckPoint TikTok account,
Oh,
which
right,
is
yeah.
checkpoint_LRR.
Where we take our screen thing and we chop it into a vertical
Yeah,
thing.
Matt does a good job of compressing it all in a way that fits into the TikTok format. And I talked about how, like the Destiny story is still getting views and engagement and stuff. And I was like, it's refreshing because, people are just arguing with, they're not actually mad at us.
Yeah.
That is no longer the case. Because I put up the video about Dr. Disrespect, where I used language because this is a comedy show and we try to make it entertaining to listen to. But I only really presented facts. And I didn't even give my opinion that I think that company is not going to succeed at making a quality video game. I
Right.
didn't say that in the story.
Oh.
People are so angry at me.
How dare you?
Because Dr. Disrespect fans are far-reaching and mad.
Yeah.
And what I don't get is so many of them calling me bitter. It's completely unable to disentangle the notion of someone being mildly critical, not even majorly critical, just ever so mildly like snarky, to like embittered and jealous.
I guess because he stole your dog or something. That must be. Is that what happened? I don't. Yeah.
I guess it's
Holy
because
shit.
he is successful.
Yes.
I mean,
Which is weird. So are we.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to start your own video game company.
I've always wanted to be
Yeah.
the new Dr. Disrespect. It's funny, too, because at the end of that story, I joke about how Canada doesn't make a lot of popular things. Just look at this show. Like, it's self-deprecating in that exact video.
Yeah.
And they're just so mad at me.
No. I'm assuming
well.
you're not engaging. You're not giving back, being like, it's true. We aren't successful. It's true. This show, nobody watches this show.
Oh, I did a couple comments about just because I felt punchy, and I guess crank up the engagement numbers. But someone was like, nice smear attempt or something, and I was like, where was this smear? I didn't even. I'll admit, I went into that story being like, oh, I'm gonna look up all the people he's got on board in LinkedIn, and it's gonna be dog shit. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, I mean, he and this other guy were only community managers, but okay. But the sandbox lead from Halo Infinite.
Somehow thinks this is
Okay, well, but it's like that's a person who knows what they're doing in the games industry. So I went into that story expecting to be way more harsh about the potential for Midnight Society than I ended up being in the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well then I'll do the "Are you afraid of the dark" joke. Why not?
Yeah.
But I think it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of the satirical nature of the show because it's TikTok and you don't get the context. So, oh well.
people on the internet not getting context.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, heaven forfend.
Yeah. I know authors who use context and they're cowards.